Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in, just imagine you're breathing in a feeling of calm and relaxation. Breathing in that relaxation, and as you breathe out, allow your eyelids to gently close now. That's it. Feeling deeper and deeper relaxed with each and every breath. That's it. Feeling more and more deeply calm and relaxed. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that you are going on a journey far, far away. I want you to imagine that within your own imagination, you can imagine traveling all the way to Denmark. I want you to imagine that you're going to Denmark on a cold, frosty winter's evening. I want you to imagine that you can see an old cottage, and as you see that old cottage perhaps surrounded by snow, I want you to look in through a window, and in that window I want you to see a very cozy looking room, perhaps with a roaring log fire. That's right. I want you to imagine that you're able to just walk through the window, through the wall, and appear in that room. And I want you to imagine that for some reason, this well-prepared, warm, comfortable room has been prepared just for you. I want you to imagine that there is a large, oversized chair with comfortable cushions, close enough to the fire to feel the warmth, but not too close to feel hot. I want you to imagine that you're climbing into that chair, positioning your body in whatever position is the most comfortable for you. Feeling the comfort of your body easing into that chair. Feeling the warmth of that log fire. Perhaps hearing the crackling of the log fire. See the embers glow. And perhaps around the side of the fire, you can see candles, perhaps scented candles, maybe with the smell of cinnamon. So you're enjoying the warmth of the fire, the coziness of that chair. And I want you to imagine that there is a large wool sweater that you're wearing, and it feels lovely and warm. You can feel the material on your skin, and perhaps there is a nice soft blanket nearby. And as you surround yourself with the blanket, smelling the scented candles, feeling the warmth of that fire, pay attention to the rest of this room, and just notice what you notice. Perhaps there are fresh plants. You can see the greenness of the leaves. Maybe there are books on the bookshelf, and like many old books, have that distinctive smell. Notice that it's just not a warm jumper that you're wearing, but very cozy warm socks right there on your feet. Feel the softness of the blanket, and notice that nearby there is a large mug of freshly served, perhaps hot chocolate or hot tea. Imagine the taste of whatever is your preference, and as you taste that, get a feeling of incredible well-being, incredible comfort. You just get a feeling of feeling at peace, feeling relaxed, feeling happy. I want you to imagine that any stress, anxiety, or tension is almost like ice cubes, locked somewhere in your body, perhaps your neck, shoulders, or arms. And the coziness of this jumper, the warmth of the fire, the sip of that hot chocolate is melting away all of that tension, stress, and anxiety. And it's just recharging that battery with a feeling of calm, well-being, coziness, and most of all, a feeling of contentment and happiness. I want you to imagine that not only are you now in this room, but the people that you love most are also in this room. And perhaps they're wearing cozy jumpers, warm blankets, fluffy socks, all sharing that warm drink around that roaring fire. I want you to imagine that now you can hear laughter, good conversation. Imagine that food and drink is being served. But it's the colours, the flickering of the candles, all those natural lights. I want you to imagine that any emotions that aren't serving you or aren't useful, you can just imagine that they're somewhere else and really connect with that cozy, warm feeling, that feeling of being exactly where you're meant to be right now. That's right. And pay attention to the smells, the sounds. As you look around, there's certain things that just evoke certain feelings. Although it's dark and cold outside, you're paying attention to the warmth and the light. The smells that may come from those candles or plants or things around you. Perhaps there are tastes that evoke certain memories of times where you just felt relaxed and completely calm. Maybe it's the taste of that tea or a hot chocolate or a warm drink. And the more you just enjoy being in this cozy, warm place, notice that your sense of well-being, happiness, and comfort starts to increase. And notice that it's easier to feel this feeling in the colder months, the seasons of autumn and winter. Because summer can evoke feelings of happiness too. But right now, in this place, with that roaring fire, with those natural lights, with the feeling of warmth and coziness, isn't it strange how this just feels lovely? And notice that the more calm you feel and the more that well-being increases, notice that isn't it good to be surrounded by people that mean so much with you and to you? That sometimes you don't need expensive places or incredible experiences. Sometimes just being with those people that are important, sharing conversations, jokes, stories, is more than enough to make you feel so relaxed. And these things like the warm, fluffy socks, the big blankets, the soft rugs, all add to this feeling. The feeling you get perhaps when you've had a cuddle that just really made you feel warm, connected, cozy. That's right. And perhaps there is music there in the background. Music that evokes that feeling of well-being and comfort. And there are lots of colours around you that again evoke emotions. Emotions that create the feeling of comfort, togetherness, harmony, feeling in the moment, that feeling of presence, atmosphere. Right now, there's nowhere else you'd rather be than just here. Allow all worries, stresses, and concerns to just disappear, and instead replace them with a feeling of gratitude. Rather than worrying about all those things that aren't quite right, take the time to just sit in that moment of full appreciation, gratitude, a feeling of being happy for what you have, feeling that you're exactly where you're meant to be, no further and no other place than right here now. And notice that this warm feeling of coziness, and as you look around at those people that you love, not one person is looking on their phone, checking social media. Isn't it interesting that when those devices are just put away and real conversations happen with real people, in a real place with real emotions, suddenly mental well-being just improves. The atmosphere comes from real experiences rather than those fake experiences. And sometimes there's a good time to reduce the amount of foods that can make you feel unhealthy, but right now, just enjoy the tastes, the flavors, the smells, the sounds. A real feeling of comfort, coziness, togetherness, feeling that you're all in the right place at the right time. That's right. And notice that the warmer and cozier that you feel, the more resourceful that you feel. There is a time to relax and enjoy, and there is a time to be motivated and purposeful. But that's not this time. Just notice that sometimes taking time to relax and enjoy recharges the very batteries needed so that when it's time to pursue those goals or achieve those accomplishments, you feel prepared, ready. It doesn't matter how hard you work out. The body will always need time to repair, to recover, to get stronger. And what if this feeling of coziness, calmness, warmth, and connection is exactly what you need, psychologically, emotionally, and perhaps even spiritually, to enable you to repair, to get stronger, to increase your ability to be resourceful and resilient in the future. And I want you to look at that fireplace, see those flickering flames, feel the warmth of the blankets, the jumpers, the socks, smell those smells, and feel that you are giving your body exactly what it needs right now. Enjoy being in this warm room, in this warm house, surrounded by loved ones, in this cottage in Denmark. Feeling what the Danish would call Hygge. This feeling of coziness, calmness, and well-being. Recharging everything that needs to be recharged so that you can enjoy the very best of your life. And winter doesn't need to be a time of sadness or depression. What if it's this time for coziness, warmth, replenishment, and connection? I want you to imagine that you're so enjoying being in this place, that feeling inside you, that feeling of being connected, feeling comfortable, feeling cozy. I want you to imagine that feeling you can imagine almost like a roaring fire within you, so that even when you're in a different place with different surroundings, you can feel that same feeling like it's right there inside you. And all you need to do is remember that roaring fire, those smells, those tastes, or perhaps the feeling of warm, comfortable clothes on your skin, and you can reconnect with that feeling whenever you want. In a few moments' time, I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, and you will awaken feeling optimistic, positive, cozy, full of well-being and warmth, and being able to connect and reconnect to this feeling whenever you need. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.